Om. 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 Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Gurur Devo Maheshwara, Gurureva Param Brahma, Asmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Chinmayam Vyapyat Sarvam Trailokyam Sacharacharam Tatpadam Darshitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Tvameva Mata Cha Pita Tvameva Bandhuscha Sakha Tvameva Vedya Dravinam Tvameva Sarvam Mama Deva Deva Tvameva Sarvam Mama Deva Deva. Jai Guru. Yata sarvani bhutani pratibhanti stitani cha yatraivo pashamam yanti tasmai satyatmane namaha. So where are we in our text?
We're in chapter 21, verse 38, 39, and that's on page 220.
Yeah. You have it?
Yes.
Oh.
Section 4, Prana Chitta, reflection on prana or vital air or bioenergy.
So just to catch people up, in this section, Vasishtha is giving equal weight to the Raja Yoga tradition and the Jnana Yoga tradition. He basically summarizes the Raja Yoga tradition with the control of the prana by visualization and breathing exercises. There are moments when we have what they call these bandhas, where you stop the breath, that stops the mind. And if you've accompanied it with mature renunciation, then it is a way to have an experience of the no-thingness of the self. The Jnana yogis accomplish the same thing through self-inquiry. I am not the body, I am not the energy, I am not the feelings, I am not the thoughts, I'm not the ego sense. Koham, who am I? What is my essential nature? The ground of being. Chidakash is the term the scripture has used. The space of pure awareness. All right, go.
Vasishtha Vacha, Charatam Jagata Koshe, Vyavahara Api, Katham Viha Gara Jendra, Deham Mrityu Na Badhate. Vasishtha said, King of birds, how is it that death does not afflict the body of even those moving about within this world and having their affairs or occupations?
So, why is it that some yogis live 400 years, or like Bushunda, he is relatively immortal. Or we have the ascended masters of the Far East, supposedly, who have transcended death and are able to materialize and dematerialize physical bodies at will. We always have stories of Babaji, who appears in the body through time. How does this happen? First of all, is it desirable? Let's see what Bushunda says.
Pushunda Vacha Dosha Mukta Phala Prota Vasana Tam Tu Santatihi Hridina Granthita Yasya Mrityu na Jighansati Asha Yamna Tahatyanta Mrityu na Jighasyati. Pushunda said, Death does not seek to kill him in whose heart the continuous line of the thread of mental impressions passed through the pearls of faults or sins is not strung. Death does not wish to kill him whom hope or desire does not burn within.
So there's two ways of looking at this verse. If we interpret it to mean that if you are a realized sage, you are guaranteed a long life. Sorry, no. The dharma of the body is karma. Everybody has its prarabdha, its own collection of cause and effect. Now, some sages who practice these kriyas, these pranayamas, can extend life. The one I'm most familiar with was a great Sufi sage named Guru Bawa. Now, whether or not this is true, I do not know. But he was supposed to be 120 years old. This is back in the 70s. But we have to understand every body dies. The Buddha died. Jesus died. He raised Lazarus from the dead, but Lazarus does not live in Emeryville. Lazarus had to die a second time, poor fellow.
Boy, that's a bit of a challenge.
Yeah. So, what does the verse mean? It means when we have this shift in identity, when I see that the body is not who I am, the body is an object of cognition. When you were 10 years old, you had a little body. You went through adolescence, your body changed again. Some of you are young adults, your body is changed. Some of us are in our middle years. Some of us are in our golden years. I don't know why they call them gold. Rusty irons, a little bit more like it.
Oh, I think I'm certainly not too rusty.
Yes. But the point is, where did that 10-year-old body go? It's gone. Where did the 14-year-old body go? Gone. Where did the 20-year-old body go? Gone. Where did the 35-year-old body go? Gone. Literally dead, down the drain and down the toilet. gone.
Boy, that's an interesting perspective.
But you have gone nowhere.
No,
You are an eternal factor. And I tell you, when the body falls off, the people who are here in this physical world will see it fall. But you will look at it kind of like you do when you go to the barber shop or the beauty parlor. When you get your hair cut, you're not on the floor of the beauty salon going, oh, I'm cut off, I'm cut off. No. Oh my God, it's really gotten white, hasn't it? Yeah. You go nowhere. So the subtle body has a relative immortality. But for the jnani, the person of steady wisdom, even the subtle body then is dissolved. And all that's left is what's real. You, which is birthless, changeless, deathless. Oh, well, how do I realize this? How do I break this seed attachment that I am the body? It's the most difficult. And you do it by witnessing, by really becoming clear in our minds that the body and its behaviors and its achievements and its failures are objects of awareness. The movie goes by, but I stays the same. I was working with a fellow yesterday who teaches Catholic theology at Holy Names High School in Berkeley, Catholic girls' school. And he has a deep interest in this work. And he's an autodidact in terms of Catholic theology. He's well read, but no formal study like at the GTU or anything. So last night we read an essay of a sermon by Meister Eckhart. It's the same. It's the same. Now, it was done in the context of the symbolism in a scriptural passage from Luke. But for those who have eyes to see, Meister Eckhart is saying the same thing. It is not exclusively wisdom of the Hindus. What have the Hindus done, though? Culturally, they've made mystical experience studied overtly with a well-crafted technology. In other cultures, other traditions, it's largely by inspiration. The Indians, there's a technology of it. And that's its great, great cultural gift to the world. Any thoughts on this? Going on.
कामक्रोधादिहीनो य मृत्युतं न जिघ्रांसति यस्य चित्तं सुविश्रान्तं पदे परमपावने न चञ्चलं मनो यस्य तं मृत्यु न जिघ्रांसति. Death does not seek to kill him who is without desire and anger. Death does not wish to kill him whose mind is well reposed in the most holy abode and is not fickle.
So again, this is poetically riffing on the same idea. Now, there is a piece of worldly wisdom in this. In Yoga Vasishtha, over and over again, we've studied and learned about the law of Sankalpa. Sankalpa is an almost untranslatable word. Usually wish, will, desire, imagination, intention. It is the process whereby thoughts become things. The law of Sankalpa is this: any wish, will, desire, thought, imagination, intention that is consistently maintained, that's not contradicted or conflicted, tends towards, the proper term is grossification. We could say manifestation. It really just comes into a denser, grosser vibration. That's how all these new agey teachings about, visualizations and affirmations. And someone was talking to me about who wrote the book, The Power of Positive Thinking.
Can't remember.
We're going back 50, 60, 70 years. Dale Carnegie, Think and Grow Rich. Not to mention, the one that some of my friends are reading now, Louise Hay, You Can Heal Your Life. This is not new. It goes back thousands of years. Because the idea is, from a negative standpoint, if my mind is filled with fear, with resentment, with regret, with anger, with worry about the future, especially deep resentment, that's a sankalpa. And in time, it makes us sick. But the opposite is also true. If, because of my deep spiritual experience, the texture of my mind is I live and move and have my being in thee, O God. One of my favorite phrases from Chandogya, you've heard it so many times, Sarvam Kalvidam Brahma. All this is verily God. Don't worry. It's all God. This is a sankalpa that puts us in harmony with life itself. So we tend to have a healthier body. We tend to have a more peaceful life. We tend to be an agent of joy in the world rather than chaos. And the Lord's sankalpa, all forms are temporary. Things come into being, they exist for a while, and then they cease to exist to make room for new things. No body gets out alive. But you are not the body. You go Nowhere. And in my mind, if I have realized this, it does have a benefit. The Master Jesus said it in a very cryptic way. Seek ye first the kingdom of heaven, and all the rest will be added unto you. Don't go for the cash and prizes. Go for God. And the abundance of the infinite will show up in your life in all sorts of forms. Even though you may choose to live simply, you'll live a life that's free from fear, that's full of love, that's useful. It's a great paradox. It's a great paradox. Any thoughts on this? So the deeper meaning is the self is ageless, it never dies, it never has any problems. But when the human mind realizes it, it has an effect. All right, next verse.
Ete brahman mahadosha samsara vyadhi hetavah managapi nalumpanti chittam eka samahitam. Sage, these great faults, which are the causes of the disease of worldly existence, do not seize the mind which is firm and composed even a little.
So for the person of steady wisdom, who's answered the three questions posited in this text. Who am I? What is this world? And how has it come about? Who am I? I am that witnessing consciousness that never changes. What is this world? This world is consciousness appearing as name and form. Well, how did the names and forms get here? By means of imagination. And there's two levels of imagination going on. First, the imagination of the infinite. Wendy's mother, I have completely forgotten your name.
Patricia.
Patricia, that's right. Okay. So, how did God bring forth the world according to the Hebrew Bible? And God, fill in the blank, let there be light. What did he do? Yeah, he said, let there be light.
Yeah.
So one of the things that our Sanskritist Puneet helped us break apart the word mantra. The first part, manas, means mind. Tra means a vehicle. So mantra is a catch-all for speech itself, which is a vehicle for the mind. So the Indian scriptures say that the world comes about by means of imagination, sankalpa. The Hebrews are basically saying the same thing.
Right, because the word is the mind of God.
In the beginning was the Word, and in the Greek it says, and the Word was face to face with God, which is really cool. The English translations, they say the word was with God, but it means face to face. So there's subject, object.
Mm-hmm.
And the Word was God. So the substance of what the Word, this is from the Gospel of John, the prologue to the Gospel of John. The Word was God, and was not anything made but by the Word. We could say the Word is Prakriti, nature. Shiva ever wedded to Shakti. The Word is Shakti. There's Nirguna Brahman, the self, God the Father. Saguna Brahman, Brahman with qualities. The Logos, the Word, out of which all this comes. The prologue to the Gospel of John is a description of a person returning from Samadhi. And the Word became flesh and dwelt among us. It goes, keeps grossifying vibrationally. Incredible stuff. Very pure blue fountain. But what we want to do is begin to take responsibility for the sankalpas we make, because the Hebrew Bible says we're made in the image and likeness of God. I've tried. I'm an old white man with a beard. That's not it. What it means is God is consciousness and brings forth the world by means of sankalpa. You and I, to a limited degree, reenact the creative process of the infinite. That's what being made in the image and likeness of God means. Christian scripture says, don't you know you are God's? What do you mean by that? It's one of those statements that has no precedent, no antecedent. No, it just kind of pops out there. But it means we as human beings need to also take responsibility that not only must we pay attention to our actions, but also our thoughts and intentions. The Master Jesus said it this way: if you look at a person with anger, you've committed murder in your heart. If you look at a woman or a man with lust, you've committed adultery in your heart. So he's saying, you don't get away with just good behavior. We also need to be conscious of the content of our thought line. Now, let me tell you the good news. 99.99% of the people in the world have the deeply rooted belief that their minds are not powerful. Whew. So they literally use the law to disempower their own minds. Thank God. Otherwise, this place would be a lot more chaotic than it already is. But yogis not only have worked on changing their relationship, I am not my thoughts, I am not my feelings, but we also need to take responsibility. That the world that I experience, to a large degree, is the result of my own making. Now, the vast majority of the negative things that happen to people come from sankalpas that were set in motion perhaps decades ago, lifetimes ago, and unconsciously, no blame. So the point of power is, how do I respond rather than react to negative circumstances? Am I willing to turn it around and return good for evil? Forgive people. Again, the Master Jesus said, I say to you, love your enemies. Even the Gentiles love their friends. I say, love your enemies. Oh, Jesus, that's hard. But what he's doing is giving us a practical discipline that's rooted in this deep understanding of the law of Sankalpa. Any thoughts on this? Going on.
Atmachinta mahashrestha sarvasankalpa varjita sarvadukha shayakari sarvasaubhagyavardhini karanam jivitasyeha pranachinta samashrita. The contemplation of the self, destitute of all ideation, is the most excellent means that causes the destruction of all sorrows and increases all blessedness. The contemplation of prana or bioenergy, when practiced, is the cause of a long life here.
Yes. So if you physically want a long life, do pranayama, do the various kriyas. Also pay attention to the content of your mind. Do good, be good. If you want to reduce it all boils down to ahimsa. Ahimsa is non-injury, non-harming. Don't harm others, don't harm yourself. But real freedom comes from understanding through direct experience that I'm not the body. I'm not a person. Chidananda Rupaham. My nature is bliss consciousness. Shivoham, Shivoham. I am Shiva, I'm God. I am auspicious. Do not try to be someone who knows Brahman. Realize that you are Brahman. Do not try to be an enlightened or realized person. If you start getting into that, the next thing you know, you're going to start comparing. Well, is that person realized? Maybe not. What about this person over there? Or maybe they're not. No, have I got it yet? Have I got it yet? Who is it who's all concerned about that? Not the self.
Nope, nope, nope.
It's nonsense. Drop it. Remember, you are Brahman. simple, but not easy. I take that back. It is easy to perform. But the price tag is to give up my attachment to the world of name and form. As long as the mind extroverts into the cash and prizes, drugs, sex, and rock and roll, I'll just, the engine of desire will go towards that instead of towards the self. Next verse.
एवम् उत्ते मया पृष्ट प्राणचिन्ता किमुच्यते भूषुण्डो मां तत प्राह प्राणापानौ इति श्रुतौ ऊर्ध्वाद किल देहेऽस्मिन् प्रसृक्तौ अनिलौ उभौ. When told thus, Bhushunda was asked by me, "What is spoken of as contemplation of prana?" He then told me, "The two life winds or vital energies called prana and apana are indeed spread in this body upwards and downwards."
So the reference is to the two principal energies in what we call the Pancha Vayu. Vayu means wind. Pancha means five. So the first two are the inhalation, prana, and apana, the exhalation. I'm not going to go into the other three tonight. But it's learning to have some dominion over the vital energy, which is done by control of the breath. And through visualization of the energy and through control of the breath, we move the kundalini from the base of the spine up through the 1,000-petaled lotus at the top of the skull. This is a long path. It takes years and years and years. Helps if you're rich, because you won't have time to much have a job. Also requires celibacy. Now you can get some quiescence, some peace of mind, even while you're working in the world, while you have a family, through Raja Yoga, through asana, pranayama, pratyahara, all those sorts of things. But it takes a tremendous commitment. But that's how we find these yogis who have these supernatural powers. They're able to levitate. They're able to fly through the air. They're able to read people's minds. This has nothing directly to do with spiritual advancement. It's like going to the gym and building muscles. But it happens to the Raja Yogis along the way as they move through the various stages. And then they say, now give it all up. Go for the self. Any thoughts? Anybody here practice any Kundalini yoga? Any Raja yoga? Who's taking a yoga class at the gym?
I go to yoga class.
Yeah, that's part of that tradition. All right, next verse.
Kalebara Mahayantra Vahayo Shrama Kinayo Hridakasha Akashino Agnishoma Swarupayo Jagrat Swapna Sushukteshu Sadaiva Samarupayo Durlakshya Vidyamanapi Gati Sukshmataranayo Prana Pana Ubhav Ete Spandashakti Sadagati. The more subtle movement of these two vital energies, which drive or direct the great machine or instrument of the body without fatigue, which are like the sun and the moon in the firmament of the heart, which are of the nature of Agni and Soma, or the deities symbolic of fire and water, and which are always equal nature, which are always of equal nature in the waking, dream, and deep sleep states, is difficult to be perceived though existing. These two vibratory energies, prana and apana, are always in motion or active.
Yes. So if you've, for example, ever gone and had acupuncture, who's had some acupuncture? Where they put the needles are the little nodes where all these various energies move through the body and they unblock the flow of prana. Or if you've studied a martial art like Aikido, Tai Chi Chuan, yeah. The chi word is first the Chinese and the Japanese for prana. So even the martial artists, what they intend to do is learn how to use the force, Luke. Joseph Campbell, was the consultant on the early Star Wars movies. We took so many of the ideas of yoga, put them in the mouth of Yoda. Well, the whole idea here is through the control of these energies, we can keep the body healthy. But again, you can do all the huffing and puffing you want with pranayama, do asana every day, but without the accompanying mental discipline. If you leave the yoga class and that evening go to the meat rack bar and get yourself drunk and go looking for not Mr. Right, but Mr. Right now. What a lot of young people do. Dissipate all that Shakti, all that prana, squander it. It's the same as our sex powers. The same energy. The same energy. There's no virtue in practicing continence in and of itself. There's no virtue in suppressing sexuality. This is why, for example, in the Catholic Church, we have all these issues of predatory priests diddling youngsters. They don't understand that it must be redirected or come out sideways, all sorts of destructive ways. Your sex powers are God-given, not to be despised, but not to be taken lightly. This is the power of the Kundalini. Any thoughts or questions? Next one.
The redirecting of prana happens consciously in Raja Yoga, but I guess in Jnana Yoga it automatically sort of happens.
As a side effect of the knowledge. One teacher once told me that for the Raja Yogi, the Kundalini starts at the bottom and you move it up through the 7 chakras. But for the Jnana Yogi, who, by the way, is not even qualified for Jnana Yoga unless he's or she has attained some degree of Chitta Shuddhi, purity of mind. They need to be pretty sattvic or it's just not going to take root. But as it were, we open the crown chakra first, and then the knowledge filters down through the body. It is not uncommon. It's not the rule. But when people have a deep and profound nirvikalpa samadhi and enlightenment experience, that afterward they go through perhaps weeks or even months of illness. As all these kleshas, these doshas, work their way out through the subtle body and the physical body. It's not uncommon. It's not uncommon. For a jnana yogi, which is our tradition, don't worry about it too much. Swamiji would talk about it reluctantly. Things like Kundalini and stuff like that. Always what he would do would be to turn our minds back on who are you? What's your essential nature? And yet he himself got Diksha from Swami Shivananda at the Divine Life Mission, which Shivananda named the Yoga Vedanta Society in those days. So in fact, they did asana and pranayama. I think there's some story about, I don't want to misquote the story. I'm not going to try to tell. I have to ask philosophy, but something about Swamiji that Anandamayi Ma told him to put a chapati on his head.
I think it's on his Wikipedia, maybe, where he was eating too much or something like that. Like he was doing a lot of Raja Yoga stuff, and his appetite grew a lot, and he just was never felt like satisfied with eating. He just kept eating. He thought it was a problem, and somebody told him to go see Anandamayi Ma. And in order to cure him of that thing, she told him to put a couple of rotis on his head.
Okay. Whatever. Such is the power of suggestion. Next verse. I'm not saying you should go home and put rotis on your head if you eat too much.
Urvagastu sthita prano panapuna avakstitaha. Prana exists going upwards. On the other hand, apana exists downwards.
So again, the upward energy is the inhalation. The moving downward energy is the apana. Some yoga texts say it not only rules the exhalation, but they say it also rules excretion. So it's that removing things. So life itself is about absorbing, ingesting, breathing in new experiences. And the easy willingness to let go of what has passed. Too frequently, we become spiritually constipated. I want to hang on to the old. Don't want to let it go. It doesn't make room for the new. Life is the flow of energy, of experience. It moves. Next one.
बाह्योन्मुखत्वं प्राणानां यद्वत् मुवच कोटरात् स्वरसेनास्तयन्त्यानां तं धीरा रेचकं विदुः द्वादशाङ्गुलपर्यन्तं ब्राह्मम् आक्रामतां ततः प्राणानाम् असङ्गसंस्पर्शो यः स पूरक उच्यते पाने यत्नवर्जितः योऽयं प्रपुर स्पर्शो विदुतमपि पूरकम्. The outgoing of the pranas or the vital airs, whose efforts have been given up by their own inclination, as from the hollow of a lotus, and their occupying or extending up to 12 finger breadths externally from there, that is the nostrils, is known as rechaka or exhalation by the wise. The full contact with the body of the pranas or the vital airs is called puraka or inhalation. When the outgoing breath returns within from the outside without effort, the sensation of filling up that arises is also known as puraka or inhalation.
So these are the technical terms. Is it rechaka or rechaka?
Rechaka.
Rechaka is the exhalation, and puraka is the inhalation. These are just the technical terms. And it very interesting. This whole system moved through the Persians from India into Greece, along with many other philosophical ideas. So, for example, you can see from literature, there's a development of the ideas of reincarnation in Hindu literature. But all of a sudden in the pre-Socratics, boom, there it is. So it traveled from east through the Persians, west into Greece. But if you, doctors don't wear them anymore, but three of us may be old enough to remember when doctors used to wear a white coat, and there would be the symbol on the pocket of the caduceus or the caduceus of Mercury. So there was a staff, and there were two wings, and then there were these snakes like that. Remember that? That's Kundalini. Now, you'll have to help me out here. I've forgotten the technical terms. Is it Nadi and Pingali, the two sides? No, Sushumna?
Ida and Pingala are the two sides. And
Say it again.
Ida
Ida
and Pingala.
and Pingala. So those are the two sides. And then the staff in the middle
Is Sushumna.
Sushumna. And that's where the Kundalini goes up. When the snake becomes a staff, they say. I've forgotten these technical terms. You know a lot about it. But you have a pictorial representation of that from the Greeks. From the Greeks. So these subtle energetic experiences are real. And if you're subtle and you practice and you can feel energy moving in the body, we even find it in places like Western ballet. You see a dancer who may have all the right form in their arms and legs, but when you watch them, for some reason, it looks very static and limited. And you see another dancer who's Nureyev or Baryshnikov,
Yes.
and you can literally feel the energy that moves through the body. It's almost like they're levitating when they jump, because intuitively in their study of dance, they have learned about prana. They may not use this language. Martial artists too. So it's a very real thing.
I saw a video about this Tai Chi teacher in New York in the 60s who'd come from Taiwan, and they're showing a class where he's doing push hands with a woman, and he doesn't move. You can see it, it's on video, and he shoves her against the wall, but he doesn't touch her and he doesn't move.
It's all prana.
It's just his energy.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It's
Yeah.
like, oh, if you think it's not real, but it's
Yeah,
real.
It's real. It's real. And it's during the Sat Yug, the golden age of life, humans spend the time learning and understanding these greater potentialities of what it is to be a human being. It's the greatest of all art forms. How much more powerful the mind is, how much more possible health and vitality and life can be through pranayama. There's so many dimensions of life. But we're in a Kali Yuga right now, and there's a lot of darkness and ignorance and suffering. But we have so much more potential, and we think we do. It's amazing to think about. All right, going on.
अपानेस्तं गते प्राण यावत् नाम्युदितो हृदि तावत् सा कुम्भकावस्था योगिभिः ज्ञानुभूयते. When the exhaled air has vanished by being drawn fully within, and as long as the inhaled air has not risen in the heart for being expelled in exhalation, so long is that state of retention which is experienced by yogis.
So now what he's talking about is something that even us jnana yogis can get a sense of it. Frequently, for many of us, the first place where we get a sense of complete silence of the mind is that little space between the inhale and the exhale. Or here he's talking about the opposite. After the exhale, before the inhale, that suspension. because one of the understandings is the flow of the mind is connected to the prana, which is connected to the breath. Now, I'm not going to tell you to try to stop breathing in meditation, but you may notice as your meditation gets deeper that your breath slows down and there may be pauses in your breathing. Who's had a sense of that on occasion? For a jnana yogi, that's effect, not cause. Do not practice pranayama without the guidance of an accomplished teacher. You can start sending energy out in all crazy directions. And I am not qualified. That is not my tradition. That's not my tradition. But there are good teachers around. All right, going on.
Rechaka Purakashchaiva Kumbhakascha Tridha Sthitaha Bahya Shrambhantarashcheti Tatalakshana Lakshitaha. The exhalation, the inhalation, and the retention exist as the three parts of control of prana. They are characterized by the attributes external and internal.
So these three things, the inhalation, the puraka, exhalation, rechaka, and the retention is kumbhaka.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there are ways to do it. There's like these various locks where you close the glottis and hold your breath, or keeping the glottis completely open, just letting it be suspended. There are different techniques.
I did a course once to learn the three locks.
Say again?
I did a course once to learn the three locks. It's in the anus, the chest, and the throat.
Yeah. That's how you learned all this stuff. Did you raise your kundalini?
I mean, you have to do it for a long time for that.
Does that mean no?
Yeah, I suppose.
There was a teacher around in the late 60s, early 70s named Yogi Bhajan. You might remember, Patricia. Do you remember Yogi Bhajan?
No, I'm afraid I don't.
Oh, yeah, he taught Kundalini yoga. So we'd get together and all this sort of stuff. Oh, and we just get blasted. But it was, I think, mostly hyperventilating.
Yes.
We did a ton of that sort of stuff. God, I haven't thought about that in decades. But it's interesting, are these echoes of practices I may have done in other lives? The memory of them was there, and that's drawn just a little bit of it. It's fascinating. All right, going on.
Section 5. Chiranjivita Karanam, the cause of long life. Avyagram asmin vyapare bahyam pariharan manaha dinay katiparaireva param apnoti kevalam. Steady in this practice, avoiding external contacts, the mind attains to the supreme state absolutely, merely in a matter of days.
I'm not sure that's necessarily true. Going on.
Esha hi chitta vishranti maya prana samadhina kramena nena samprapta swayam atmani nirmale. By this method of bringing together or accomplishment of the vital airs, This repose of the mind in the stainless self was indeed obtained by me spontaneously.
So this is Bushunda still talking about. So he's a Kundalini yoga crow.
He has a small body. I think that's why it took him 3 days.
Okay.
Not that much energy.
Yeah, not much distance to rise.
Says he could fly as a crow.
And he didn't have an anus for the kumbhaka. He had a cloaca instead, so maybe it was easier. Going on.
Na bhutam na bhavishyascha chintayami kadachana drishtimalamba tishtami vatmanam ihatmana. I neither think of the past nor the future at any time, resting upon or resorting to the view or perception of the present with the mind, I remain here.
So again, this is his state, but it also implies a practice. And it is my view that Raja Yoga and the Vedanta join. So these are Raja Yoga's 8 limbs, yamas and niyamas. These are the moral precepts, the do's and the don'ts. Asana, this is the body postures, which you go and learn in a yoga class. Then you have pranayama, which he's gone into in depth. Then that's followed by pratyahara, which is sense withdrawal. Then comes dharana, concentration, dhyana, meditation, and samadhi. In the jnana yoga tradition, we have first become adhikari, a fit student. Viveka, discrimination, vairagya, intense detachment, samadhi guna, qualities of shama, etc. Learning how to introvert the mind. Mumukshutva, the burning desire for liberation. Then what comes next? This intense discrimination between the self and the not self, and renouncing our attachment. Shankara in the Adhikari section talks about uparati, sense withdrawal. It's the same as pratyahara. It's a lot of common points. But then we start to have single pointed meditation on who am I? Dharana. Deep meditation on the meaning of the scriptural passages in the Upanishads. Dhyana, dhyana. And they both culminate in samadhi. So they both involve a practice. For the Raja Yoga tradition, it is my opinion that if you practice all that without vairagya, a commitment to detach, let go of my attachments to sense objects, people, places, things, and conditions, what you will get is what we call a jada samadhi, an inert samadhi, meaning I, the individual, I, Jim, see blank, and I may be hyperventilated, but that's not samadhi, because the individual self has not disappeared. And when you come out of it, your desires are still there. So that's the pitfall of that particular approach. The pitfall for the jnana yogi is it's all from the neck up. I mistake paroksha jnanam, indirect knowledge, meaning I thoroughly understand it intellectually, for aparoksha jnanam, direct experience. Oh, yes, I was reading Gita for an hour, then I'm having a glass of sherry, and then maybe I'll smoke a joint, and then, I'm going to go online and shop. That's not Vedanta. That's rationalization. It's so comforting. That's not it. So both paths have their pitfalls. All right. How many more in this section? Because it's 9:00.
7 more verses.
We'll finish it next week then. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Sri Guru Pyo Namaha. Hari Om. Om Tat Sat.